Hello, I'm Gustavo, co-founder of Evolve. Evolve is a global private network and operating layer connecting senior commerce leaders, advisors, founders, and operators across markets. And this is Commerce Talks, where we bring founders of agencies and technology companies in commerce and dig into what they built, the decisions they made, and the thinking behind it all. For our first episode, we wanted to bring someone whose story is a masterclass in what it actually takes to build a global company from scratch. Diego Sampaio is the founder and CEO of Globalfy, which has helped over 10,000 founders across 100 countries open and operate companies in the United States. He started with $20 and a problem he lived himself. So keep tuned and let's hear what Diego answered us for the first question of the first Commerce Talks episode. So, Diego, you've spent years helping founders enter the American market. But what's the biggest lie the market tells about what it actually means to have a company in the United States?
So first of all, Gustavo, thank you very much for the opportunity and for the invitation. And happy to be the first one here. Wishing you good luck with this new series of podcasts and content that you guys are creating. So yeah, talking about internationalization or expanding into the US. I think that the biggest lie, I'm going to put here two sides, right? So two different aspects. The first one, the first lie is about being hard. It's actually not hard to start the internationalization or expanding into the US market. So, it's pretty simple to start the process. You can do everything remotely nowadays. You don't have to be in present. You can set up your company from abroad. You can start selling from abroad. You can learn about the market from abroad. So the first line is that it's hard. The second line, or actually the first line now talking about operating the business, is that it can be a side goal. So now, look, while I'm expanding into my local market, I'm gonna set up an entity. I'm gonna put on the landing page to sell to the American market or to the global market, and things will run by itself. So this is the biggest lie, that international expansion can happen as a side job. It has to become first job, at least from someone else. If it's not by the CEO, by someone else that is 100% committed in doing that process. Getting into any market, anywhere in the world is hard if it's your local market. Now, getting and entering the largest markets in the world is even harder, right? There's a lot of competitions already established there. So when you're approaching those markets, you have to have someone really focused in making that happen.
Great. Yes, and we see a lot of companies. I saw a lot of companies trying to go to the US, as you said, as it feels almost like an adventure. Like, oh, let's go to the US. And I think that's one point. And as you said, and I saw also that the companies that succeeded there, or at least they are still trying to succeed there, but they are having some type of growth and they're acquiring clients, are the companies that did exactly that, or they have built like almost a second company to a separate company and management to work with the American market. And this company runs and the rest of the world runs, or the regions run itself. So it's also more, I think the company will be more able to adapt into the market that they need, right?
Yeah, getting into a new market, it's similar to launching a new product, right? Let's say you are well established in Brazil, for example, and you have a successful product, right? When you're gonna launch a new product, you will certainly put efforts in making that happen. So you're gonna have, let's say, a marketing director for that, or you're gonna have a specific sales strategy for that, and someone will be able to pay their rent with the success of this new product, right? Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. So getting into
Mhm.
a new market, it's the same thing. Someone has to be 100% compromised with that. And they have to know that they're going to only be able to pay their rent next month if that process, that entering the market succeed. Otherwise, as you said, it's an adventure, which is
Mhm.
fine. We have a lot of clients that put on their US expansion as like the founder's dream. And actually, that's how I started expanding to the US in 2012. It was my founder's, my entrepreneur dream, right, to succeed with a business in the US. And starting at that time, open up doors to later in my career being able to make that happen. Like let me buy the flight ticket, and then I'm gonna figure out what comes next. It's kind of
Mhm.
the same process, but it will hardly put you in a place to become successfully with that. Right, then you have to be 100% compromising and focus in making that happen.
Great. And I will give you a question connecting to when you went to the US. But uh, for now, I want you to explain. So for anyone who doesn't know Globalfy, what what is Globalfy? What the company? What the problem do you solve? And well, why does it still exist after all this time?
Perfect. Yeah. So Globalfy is the backbone, is a platform for international founders do business in the US. So we help those entrepreneurs to establish their presence. And I mean, we've been doing this for 10 years, right? But the market exists for 20, 30 plus years. What happens is that the US, they are the largest consuming market in the world, like the largest purchase for SaaS, for e-commerce, and so on. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs from abroad and companies from abroad that they understand that they have to expand to the US to be able to become a global company, because not just the opportunities are global, but the competition is also global, right? So you're developing an amazing SaaS from German, amazing. But
Mhm.
someone else in China, in Brazil, in Colombia, in the US, or in UK is also thinking a solution to solve the same problem. So how can you compete with them if you're looking only for the local market? Because at someday they will also look for a market, and then they become a strong competitor because they are already bigger, probably in other countries. So we
Mhm.
help those entrepreneurs that they have global aspirations
Aspirations?
to be
Great.
able to succeed. So, and the US entity, it's really useful for different purposes, not just to get into the American market, but also to raise capital, venture capital. Over 60% of the venture capital comes from the US, but also for smaller countries or countries that they are not so well known, most like from Latin America, let's say, or some part of Europe. The US entity will open up doors for them in doing business with other countries. So run an international company from Brazil, for example, that's where I'm coming from, or from Colombia. It's not as easy as doing that with a company from UK, for example.
Mhm.
So the US will like put on everybody on the same level. Now you can run a global operation from only one entity and sell to all the world.
Amazing. Yeah, that's really fantastic. So from our side, we did that, not opening a company in the US, but we used I believe one competitor from you, and I don't think that they're competitors because they don't work to the US, but I can fully correlate and understand what it means. Uh, and that brings me to that question that you were saying before, that you was your dream to go to the US to have to live like the American dream, right? But not connected to that, but connecting to Globalfy. So what was the click? What was the point that you, or the pain point that you said, okay, so I will open a company to solve this problem? What was going with your life? What was the moment that you said, oh, let, I'll make a business around this.
So I mean the Globalfy was founded in 2015, but the why we created started in 2010. So 2011 actually. So in 2011, I still live in Brazil, and I had a company, a software company, and I wanted to sell that product that was a loyalty program, a loyalty platform, a SaaS, to clients in the US. And it was really hard. It was 15 years ago, right? To do that with a
Mhm.
Brazilian entity. It was hard to collect payments internationally, so there was no Stripe in Brazil. It was hard to do the invoicing, so the nota fiscal from Brazil. So I mean, it was really hard to operate that from outside the US, from a Brazilian entity. So I looked at online and I registered a company using like a local accountant. Uh, um, so I created a company in the US, I'm sorry, using a local accountant. And
Mhm.
later on, when I decided to move to the US, that was 2014, 2015, then I discovered that the company was owning taxes, taxes, penalties, was dissolved by the state because I didn't do some basic things that I should have done. And I didn't do not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know that I had to. So
Mhm.
it became the click. Look, if I was a foreigner entrepreneur looking to do business in the US, and I found someone that could help me set up the entity, but I had no guidance towards that. What happens if I start providing guidance for those entrepreneurs? And then I hired a journalist, and then we create a blog, a website, a portal, right? It
Mhm.
was 2015, and then we start writing about doing business in the US, like really the basics, like how to set up the company, how to do, and even a little bit about visa. And the audience started getting in touch with us, asking for help. So I said, yes, look, there are other entrepreneurs. At that time, we were serving only in Brazil, but there are other entrepreneurs that are definitely looking to expand to the US. And there's a space here that we can help them uh, uh, in a safe way, providing guidance for them. So actually, Globalfy solves a problem that I had 3 or 4 years before the founding the company, while I was looking to expand to the US. And
Mhm.
and so we validated the idea, and then we created a company combo that was the first name of Globalfy that later on became Globalfy.
Great. Yeah, that's amazing. And now you have more than 10,000 clients, and you have clients from more than 100 countries. But what surprised you when you look at that number? So, what did you not expect to be true about who actually uses GlobalFi?
Perfect. Yeah, I think that what always bring me surprise is the number of countries that we serve every month. So I was checking the numbers for May, right? And for this month, we served cu- customers in over 28 or 29 different countries. So although of course we have 5 or 10 markets that we target the most of our content and ads, I mean, entrepreneurs from all over the world are actually looking to use the solution that we prove. So
Mhm.
what most makes me surprise me is that although we serve thousands of clients every year from dozens of countries every year, we are touching just a small part of the market, which sometimes makes me sad, right? So, oh shoot, after 10 years I'm still not the number one in all markets.
Mhm.
But in the other hand, say, look, we were able to grow this company up to this point without being the number. Can you imagine what happens when we start
Mhm.
approaching all those markets that we could be touching? So I mean, it's like a bittersweet feeling.
Great. Yeah, that's fantastic. You're working with people from the whole world, so most especially with people with founders and entrepreneurs from Latin America and Europe.
Mhm.
And you said that Latin American and European founders don't even define entering the US the same way. So, what's the difference in practice, and how does that change what you offer each audience?
Perfect. Yeah, I think that, like each country is different, but when we put Latin America and Western Europe, I mean, even like the group of countries, they have different perspectives about doing business in the West
Mhm.
or doing business abroad, right? So while Latin America getting into the US, it's usually the first experience in selling to other countries. When we come, of course, to Europe and Western Europe, it's usually getting to the US. It's usually not the first option, right? They first
Mhm.
expanded to other countries in Europe, and then it gets to a point that in Europe they're looking for a larger market, and then they look to the US. I mean, e-commerce in the US is bigger than the whole European community. SaaS purchase is the same thing. So Europeans will be looking not to do a global business, but to actually expand their business. When we come to Latin America, and I can talk more about Colombia, Brazil, Argentina, and
Mhm.
Mexico, like
Yeah.
they're our largest markets.
Mhm.
US, it's usually the first experience in going international, right? But when they look to the US as a way to get into the global market. So it's not just like the US market. Of course, they are looking to the American market, but it's not just that. They're actually looking for the global market. Doing business, getting payments in dollars, for example, when you're in
Mhm.
Latin America, it's harder than when you are in Europe. So therefore, you're looking for a more stable economy. Europeans are not looking for a more stable economy, right? Latin
Mhm.
America looking for a more stable economy, a more stable political environment. Europeans are usually not looking for that. So I mean, you understand, like the
Yeah.
local, the
Yeah. Mhm.
it changed because the environment is completely different. And I think that's
Mhm.
what makes it really interesting for us when we are working with multiple markets, that we have to establish, even though we are selling the US, as we are selling for different markets, we have to have a different strategy in terms of sales and
Mhm.
marketing for each one of them.
Yeah. Well, when you were saying it, well, I got this impression that for Europeans is more like market expansion. They just want to generalizing, right? So they just want to expand, and it's like an option. So yeah, we can go there, but if things don't get it good, if things don't work, then it's okay. We just didn't. We just don't go to a larger market, and it's okay. We'll look somewhere else. And whereas for the Latin American market, it's more like so. It's I think there's one point of dream because of culture and etc. and influence and cultural influence. I think this is one point coming from Brazil. I also had
Yeah.
always this dream to living abroad. Nowadays I don't live in the US, but I never thought about living abroad, not being the US.
Hmm.
And it's interesting,
That is true.
but I think that's you touched a very good point. It's not only about the market; it's about a lot of other complications that these other regions have in other terms of security and governments and etc. That we don't want to we don't need to dig into that. But it's not only a market question, right?
Yeah.
It's there's some other things around that.
It's true. It's true. But there's one thing in common for both markets, that is high taxes. So
Oh yeah.
Europeans and Latin America, they're also established in the US, looking to for a tax, for some for a better tax structure, or a better way of, or a better and an alternative to pay less taxes legally. Okay, let's talk about legally,
Okay.
not
Yeah.
illegally, of
Of
course.
course.
But I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs from Europe and also from Latam establish a business in the US because they understand that, based on their business also being global. Look, this is completely
Hmm.
different if you run a bakery in Spain. I mean, if you run a bakery, this is a local
Hmm.
business, right? There's not that much you can do. But when you're selling your business, your services to all over the world, there are some better tax strategies in terms of setting up your company in, like, in an environment with lower taxation, like the US, right? So when you
Mm-hmm.
compare like the total tax rate in the US versus the total tax burden that you have in Europe or in Latin, US
Yeah.
is way smaller. So there's our
Mm-hmm.
alternatives, and this is like a common goal for both markets.
Great. Yeah, that's really really interesting and makes a lot of sense also. Yeah, let's go. I want to now talk more about go to market and growth, and let's talk about how do you guys at Globalfy tackle those points. So, how does Globalfy acquire customers today, and what changed? So, at first, how does Globalfy acquire customers today?
Perfect.
What's your go-to-market? Don't need to say this the whole strategy, but
Sure.
in general
No,
terms.
but it's pretty. I mean, I've talked about that before, and there's no there's nothing that's too
It's
much.
not rocket science, right?
No, it's not rocket
It's not
science.
rocket science.
No, not rocket science for sure. So I mean, the first aspect that we focus on some specific markets. So in our case, we understood which markets they would bring the higher LTV, the higher lifetime value instead of volume.
Mm-hmm.
I could be
Mm-hmm.
acquiring more customers in terms of volume with a lower ticket. That's not what we're looking
Mm-hmm.
for, right? So that's the first thing. We map which market would bring us the best return in terms of
Mm-hmm.
per dollar that we invest. Then
Mm-hmm.
we create a strategy with I separate in three tiers. So the first tiers are the markets that we have to be the number one. So Brazil, we are actually the number one when you're talking about not just startups, but with general business. So like we have to be the number one. So I have two markets, Brazil and Spain. Point.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have the secondary market. That is a market that we already have customers, but we can grow. We can grow faster because we are already well established there, although we're not the leaders. And then the third tier, those are the markets that we have clients, but we didn't put efforts in terms of validating them. But I know that the clients that we can get over there, they're clients with a high value, a high lifetime value. So I separate that in those three tiers. And then we create a strategy for each one of those. So that comes to about 10 markets. So we have two markets that we're looking that we put, let's say, 60% of our efforts, then another four markets that we put another 30% and then another one that we put 10-20%, and then we start developing them. So we create strategies for each one of them. And uh, that's but we were only able to get to that point after a few years running the business. So at the first we were like
Mm-hmm.
trying to understand the market, right? So what are the best clients that we can sell? What is our ICP? How does the what is like the sales process for each one of those markets? But after some time, we were able to map that and then to start growing from there. And then in terms of advertising, it's similar to a lot of what happens with our clients also. So of course, paid media, it's important, right? So we do ads online. There's the one.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is through partnerships and referrals. So we have a lot of clients and partners that refer us to their customers base or to their friends. So we also start putting more efforts towards partnerships and creating like that ecosystem. And then, of course, content. So we started Globalfy, as I said before, creating content, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what we've been investing for or 10 years. But in the past 2 years, with the AI expansion, and which makes content even more value than it was probably 5 or 7 years ago, we're putting more effort towards that.
Yeah, great. Uh, and still talking about go-to-market. What's the go to the biggest go to market mistake you see founders make when trying to enter the US? We already touched
Mhm.
one point around that not focusing, but once he focused, once he's working there. So what's the what's one mistake that you see that founders usually make?
Even I think that the let's say For well-established founders, so companies that are already
Mhm.
well-established in their local or their native market, the second mistake, let's say they decide to put focus, then the mistake is to believe that their brand and their size in their home country will be really beneficial for them in their destination country. So let's say
Mhm.
you may be the number one manufacturer in flip flops in Brazil, like Havaianas. When you're getting into the American market, they don't know the product, they don't know the brand. You have to rebuild from scratch. For them, you have the same value, let's say, as a Chinese company that is copying your product and getting to the market, right? So
Mhm.
when you get into a new market, you have to understand that it's like a restarting from scratch with more knowledge and money, probably, but restarting from the scratch in terms of brand value. So that's a key mistake. Then when we come to new companies, so for startups or companies that are entering into the market, is to believing that they're going to be able to, let's say, have a positive to have a negative CAC or to have a really low CAC once they're getting to the market. So let's say, oh look, in Brazil we spend $100 to acquire a customer. In the US, it's costing us $250. But I mean, look again, you are getting into the market, you're learning. So there's another curve, there's another learn curve here that will take you time to understand the language, to understand the way that customers will purchase. Um, uh, and I think that becomes like a mistake. Just believing that what you're building in your local market, the way that you're building your local market,
Mhm.
will happen at the new market that you are getting into.
Yeah, yeah, I totally understand. I think there's I always heard about that when in Brazil. There's one thing Europeans they probably don't see that, but for Latin markets or other regions, where the value of the currency is
Mhm.
different. Uh, People always say, "Oh, let's go to the US, then we can make money in dollar." But you need to remember that you will also expand in dollar. You have your expenses in dollar. You have to pay for the ads in dollar and etc. And the same when they want to come to Europe. So, oh, we'll make money in euros. Yes, but you also pay in euros. So
I mean,
it's different. It's
yeah,
another
it
thing.
is for sure. Running the operation from a country with a lower cost of operating, like Brazil or India or Pakistan or
Hmm.
Philippines or
Hmm.
Colombia, it's of course a benefit, right? Because you can
Yeah.
run with a lower operational cost. But then when you go to market entry, that's going to probably cost ads, sometimes a local salesperson, and
Hmm.
sponsor events. Then you're talking about
Yeah.
local currency, right? So
Yeah.
at the first, you're gonna and that's a nice point, Gustavo. I think that I never thought about this way, but I think that when you are entering the market, you're gonna have like a challenge because the initial
Hmm.
investment will be always on the local currency. That's going to be euros or US dollars. They're more expensive than
Hmm.
Brazilian reais or pesos, for example.
Yeah.
But once you have the operation running, then you take advantage of having a lower operational cost. So then you can have a better margin. So it's like a trade off, right? You have to first spend in dollars and euros to later
Hmm.
make money in dollars or euros, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then when you as long as you scale or grows your marketing, etc., and then you have again the advantage of running your operation in a country where
Yeah.
where you have the currency advantage now from the other side.
And sometimes the entrepreneurs they think that having team members or have their team abroad uh, put them in a like a worse position than having all the employees in the US. But to be honest, the majority of the established American entities they also hire talents from Latin and from Asia, right? So even
Hmm.
for some specific points, let's say even on bookkeeping, so there are companies in the US that are traditional companies, like let's say a transportation company. Not talk about technology, transportation
Yeah.
company that their bookkeeper, the person that runs their accounting, is actually based in Latin. because of cost.
Mhm.
So this is normal,
Mhm.
right? And this is also an advantage that, and being able to hire anywhere in the world is an outstanding advantage of any sort of immigrant, because you can start
Mhm.
getting the best of each location, right?
Yeah, sure. Sure, sure. Yeah, that's really great. Yeah, yeah. Well, the if you're thinking about if the founder or the entrepreneur is thinking about global market and going global, he needs to think also about that in terms of hiring. So he
Sure.
needs to look at the whole market, not only look at the world as a market to go to sell your product, but also to look at the market, the whole globe, to look at the market as a whole. So hiring, getting services. Maybe you have a service from another market that is in Asia that is better
Yeah.
than another one, so you hire there. But yeah, that's great. That makes a lot of sense. And Diego, do you have, you already touched that, but I'd like to ask. So you have, of course, direct competitors. And how do you position Globalfy when someone asks you, why not use X? I don't even know the names, but
Mhm.
X instead of using Globalfy.
Sure. I'll tell you that the market that we are on, it's going to a huge fragmentation, because the entry
Hmm.
barriers are low. That's a fact, right? So you don't have to have any sort of lines to provide some of the service that we provide. So
Hmm.
which brings the entry barrier lower. So then comes, how can we differentiate on the soft skills, not just with the product itself. So I believe that our key differentiator right now is that we focus on some specific markets, so we can create a deeper connection with our clients. Because Gustavo, you're based in Germany, right?
Yes.
You're based in Germany. So once you're getting into and you speak Portuguese. So once you're getting into German and you're starting having to learn, let's say, about taxation in German, um, would you prefer someone that could speak a little Portuguese and explain you like better? Look, this is tax system here. It's compared like, to Brazil like this, instead of someone that speaks German with you and then it's like, uh, I mean,
Yeah.
you probably try to you probably spoke with someone that spoke some sort of Portuguese that could
Yeah.
help you with
Sure.
that, because because
Yeah, German is hard by nature, but yeah, when we're talking about taxation and all of this regulatory stuff, it's even
you want to talk to
harder.
someone that you can correlate. Then also,
Yeah,
it
sure.
was like this in the US, like this in Spain is like this, in the US like this. So I mean, of course, that's something that adds a lot of value. So I'll tell you that the fact that we specialize in some countries and the cross-border operation brings us a huge advantage over competitors. The second one is
Mhm.
time on market. So we've been here for 10 years and we create a business that we are over 75 team members right now, from multiple countries. We have over we served over 10,000 founders. So I mean, we're here for the long term. We're not offering a cheap service, and then next year you're gonna have to find someone else to work with you. So
Mhm.
I mean, we're here from the long term, and I think that this adds a lot of value when you're talking to also founders that are looking for the long term. So I think that it's service, the ability to create a rapport with our client base, and also the trustability in terms of being here for the long term. But
Great. Yeah.
technology nowadays, I mean, we have an outstanding platform. Our platform, our
Mhm.
clients, they can manage everything to our platform, right? So they only have to get in touch with us if they want to, not because they have to,
Mhm.
right? So we use a lot of technology, but technology nowadays is not a key differentiator anymore, right? I talked to my development and my product team. Look, in 3 months and with 3 engineers, anyone can recreate our technology stack, and get to the same level that we are. Of course, then
Yeah.
comes the ability to process a good tax return, the knowledge about the market. That there's a lot of other
Yeah.
things, but technology nowadays and access, it's
Hmm.
not a differentiation for anyone anymore.
Yeah, sure, totally agree. Yeah, we can build, um, well, anything that we want, and if you're focused enough, and if you have even uh, some a bit of money, you can
Mhm.
basically replicate
Anything.
basically every size that's in the market in 1 or 2 weeks. Of course, that's not the same product that will go to market, but at least you can have an MVP and test and try and say, oh, okay, I can get clients and then I can invest that. I
Yeah,
totally agree. Now I want to well, let's talk about some cases. I want to see to hear about what you've been doing for clients. So uh, can you tell me a client story that sticks with you? So, what a client that you when you see that story and you say, "Oh, that's the circle, the cycle of why I built this being completed." So, can you
sure.
tell
So
about?
I think that each client that sign up with us, I'm already happy because I see that we are adding value
Hmm.
for them from day one. If they do not succeed, they at least knew what they had to do. I didn't have that 10, 15 years ago, right? So one of like
Exactly.
it's like providing clear guidance. It's like checked from day one. So I think
Hmm.
that's important. But I mean, unfortunately nowadays I don't have contact with our clients anymore. I have just with a small portion of them. But they're like two clients that we've been helping them. We've been serving them for probably 7 8 years, that I think that their going story resonates a lot with myself. So the first one is like they're two uh, developers or like technical service providers know exactly what they do.
Hmm.
And they used to work to an American company, and they've been working there for, let's say, 5 or 7 years. And then the American company replaced them with someone cheaper from Philippines or whatever. But they already had touch with some clients or some other possible clients, and they hire our service like probably 7 years ago, I think, and they still being our clients. But that was the first time that they were become entrepreneurs. So the first company ever in their life was an American company. They
Hmm.
were based in Brazil. So that was American
Great.
company. And I know that they still work with the clients. I know they still growing their business, like two solo entrepreneurs from their home providing services to clients in the US. And they never had any challenge in terms of taxes or penalties and so on. So I think that this is like a key
Hmm.
exactly the example that we wanted to serve. We wanted to help small and medium business or entrepreneurs to establish their business in the US and to expand their business globally. So I think that this is a really nice case. The second one is towards a manufacturer. That's a manufacturer that they had their production running, selling almost 100% of their production to an American distributor. And the American distributor at some point replace them with a similar version made in China. Um,
Hmm.
and now they had a product that was validated, that they knew they could sell the product, and they used to sell with a tight margin, right? Because they were selling to someone else that would then sell the product. And they also established the business with us a long, long time ago, and they hire one person that was a really young person to be their e-commerce manager in the US. And I actually think that was her first experience running that. But she was 100% focused on that. She knew that their next lunch she would have to pay with the the profits from the business, right? So she developed a really nice plan and implemented like Shopify store, then got into Wayfair, then got into Amazon, selling the products, and they were able to expand to a point that they were doing multiple furniture containers every month, selling direct to customers in the US with like maybe 5, 6, 7 times the margin that they had before. So again, that's another example because they were able to break into the not to break but to get into the market, and this is a family business, so expand their sales with a better profit margin, but they understood that they have to have someone that was focused in doing that operation. In that case, it wasn't the owner, although the owner was like, we have to make this happen. I can't put 100% of
Mm-hmm.
my focus on this. Let me get someone here that's going to put the focus. So they knew that they have to have that focus, and they did it from day one. And they succeed, and they still were clients. I think that they were clients since 2017, so for almost 10 years. So I think that those are two stories that I was able to make the deal with them at that time. Nowadays, I don't make deal with
Mm-hmm.
clients anymore, but I made the deal with them, and I know that their business is still thriving like almost 10 years later.
Great. That's amazing. And you touched one point that's my following question. So for an e-commerce brand that wants to sell to American consumers, where do they usually get stuck? And therefore where you guys come into the journey. You guys come into the journey to help them open the company and run, but where they usually get stuck that you can see that you can help.
It's not operation; it's customer acquisition. That's, I mean, we go back all the
Hmm.
way to the first question, right?
Yeah.
It's in terms of focusing and developing the market. Um, we work and we see dozens or hundreds of European brands that are already selling in the US. So they already have the client there. And then when they sign, and even after, and when all product that is getting to the US started being taxed, they got a problem, right? That's, look, now I have to pay for, or the client has to pay duties for everything that's getting to the US. And look, in Brazil and in Europe, we are used to have to pay import duties or tariffs when
Hmm.
we're purchasing something from abroad, right? From outside here,
Hmm.
the EU.
Yeah.
But this didn't happen in the US for the past, I think, like 20 years. In any order up to $800 would get into the US without paying duties. And now, since last
Hmm.
year, it doesn't happen anymore. Now they have to pay. So the US customer is not used to pay a tax when they're receiving their products. So then it became a challenge. So then there was an operational challenge that they could fix that shipping, delivery duty paid, DDP, or with an American entity that became the importer. So, I mean, look, when you talk about operations, there's always an alternative. There's always a way to fix that that's usually not a high cost. But then when you talk about customer acquisition, then is a challenge. You're trying to sell a product to, again, to the largest e-commerce market in the world other than China, right? So you're trying to sell a product there. What are the key differentiators from your product that will make someone not purchase this to purchase yours? So I think that
Hmm.
this is like the key challenge is establishing the brand, understand that although the American customers spend way more money than Europeans or Latin American customers, and they purchase just because they want to purchase, not because they need it, you still have to have a key differentiation to be able to succeed in the market. And again, that costs money until we'll figure out the best way to operate. So I would
Hmm.
tell that that's probably the key challenge here in terms of e-commerce. It's not an operational problem. It's more a strategy and customer acquisition problem.
Great. And yes, now let me uh, get some more technical side, especially for the Brazilian customers. So you recently broke down the Brazilian federal revenue ruling on LLCs with Brazilian partners. So
Mhm.
COSIT 56 slash
Mhm.
to 2026. And in practice, what actually changed for founders and how does it affect the decision to structure a company in the US?
Perfect. Yeah, I think that the key change here, it's not mainly for the operational entities. So for those entrepreneurs that they were running a company in the US and developing a business in the US, but it's more towards investors or business owners that kept their money abroad, because before 2025, you could keep your profits in your entity abroad without paying taxes in the US. I'm sorry, without paying taxes in Brazil, right? But after 2025, then you have, even if you don't distribute the profits to the owners, you still have to pay taxes, 15% taxes on that income from that you kept on the business. So the key change came for investors. But we didn't see any decrease in terms of new clients from Brazil. It's actually the opposite, right? With all the new tax renewal and the tax change that are going into to Brazil, there's a lot of entrepreneurs, mostly digital entrepreneurs, that are looking to establish their business abroad in a place where it's more stable, where you can have some tax benefits and tax rates than keeping everything on the same place. So actually, the changes are good for us and not so good for the entrepreneurs. But for us, it's good because it's opened up the mind for those entrepreneurs that they can also do business in another
Mhm.
environment or bring their business to another level.
Great. Yeah, understood. And now let's talk about a bit about the vision, your vision, and your vision also as a founder and CEO, and starting running going to our last block here. So you said you have nowadays more than 75 people within Globalfy across different countries. So what was the hardest scaling decision you made, not operationally, but strategically? So having all of these people.
That's a good question. I think that the hardest decision that we have to do every week is keeping everybody working remotely and working from home. I wish there was a way that we could make everybody bring together work together at the same room. Not maybe not every day, but every week, in a way to better accommodate the growth and to bring like a more higher pace environment, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we are talking about hiring people, the ability of hiring people globally, right? Which is
Yeah.
true. I mean, being able to hire people from anywhere in the world based in their skills, not their location, is amazing. But that comes with a cost, right? Unfortunately, we see that when we are together, we can cooperate more and we can get into a higher pace environment. So I think that there's no way that we can bring an office and put everybody at the same office again. But we've been investing a lot this year to bring the team together. So to conference or to co-working. So we try to accommodate people from the same city once or twice every 6 months all together to be able to work and creating better connections and develop the business. So I think that
Mhm.
that's pretty much it. I mean, it's being able to hire the best from anywhere, but having the challenge on how can we better connect the team to get the best
Mhm.
from everybody.
Yeah, and going a bit deeper into that. How do you what what do you how do you see like building the culture of Globalfy working this way? So what are some tactics that you used that you've been using through all these years that helps building culture?
Well, I think that having a clear communication channel is the point one here, is to make sure that you can address the whole company, the whole team at the same time with the same speech, making clear that everybody's getting the same message. So
Hmm.
that's something that we've done from the day one. Um, actually, we are a team of 75, which is not small, but it's not a large company. So I'm still able to have an open access and a direct channel with each one of our team members, and they also have the same thing with myself and with my partner and so on. So I think that the communication has to be really transparent in terms of what, not just what you're expecting, but how you're feeling and how you're seeing, right? And then come up the on the cultural aspect. How can we get a professional that is a young professional, not so seasoned, and how can
Mhm.
we connect them with more seasonal professionals and help them exchange knowledge? Because when you're in an office, you're not just learning by your mistakes or by your tasks, but you're also learning with the mistakes and tasks from everyone else that is around you, right? So you're doing
Mhm.
this, but your friend's doing something else. You're actually learning, observing something from what they do. But what happens when you're working from home and that your
Yeah.
first job is professional experience is it's home based? You're not learning from others,
Mhm.
right? So how can we create an environment where the more senior professionals can share their knowledge with the youngest one, and how can we make sure that we enforce the youngest generation, that they have to learn from others and they have to feel not in a comfortable position every time. So I think that that's the key challenge right now. It's more towards um,
Mhm.
not seasonal professionals, but for younger professionals, how can we put them in the same pace that everybody else?
Mhm. Yeah. Great. And I think connecting also with this younger generation, you talk a lot in your social media about companies needing to be born global. But what's the what actually means in practice? So the first steps that people can that someone that wants to found a company that needs to do to actually born global for this company to born global.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that the entrepreneurs, they may choose to start by operating locally, which is fine. Uh,
Mhm.
but you have to be open, and you have to be attentive to everything that is happening everywhere, right? So, as I said before, competition is like the main thing. So, of course, if you provide a software, so let's say a software or a product that is like really, really regulated in your country. So, let's say if you develop an ERP in Brazil, it's hard. It may be hard for you to expand to other countries because the taxation in Brazil, it's really specific, right? The APIs for the electronic invoice from Brazil, it's specific for Brazil. So I mean that, and this makes harder for you to put your product globally, but on the other hand, make harder for someone with an ERP system in German to enter in Brazil, right? So there's some sort
Mhm.
of market protection. But other than that, as I said before, you're developing, let's say, a solution to, let's use Lovable here an example. You're developing a platform where people can develop other platforms. I mean, you can decide to start this and validating locally with your friends and with the network that you have around you. But I mean, someone else in Sweden is actually thinking about to solve the same problem. Therefore, if
Mhm.
they start globally, so looking to expand to other markets, they're going to probably acquire more customers. They're going to get a better valuation. They're going to raise more capital than you would with your local, and then they're going to eat you up. So I mean, even though
Yeah.
you may decide to start by operating locally, you have to have your mind open to at least track your competitors all over the world, and having in your uh, initial phase the ability to quickly scale to other markets that make sense for a product.
Mhm. Great. Uh, I will just I'll make a point here. I have Tem mais três perguntas.
Tá bom?
Tem, beleza? Tem,
É mais
pode
10
ser?
minutos.
O
Tá?
tempo? É, só para os três. So, Okay, so Diego, you founded TVL in 2024 to invest in global opportunities. And when you look at the market today, what are you betting will be true in the next 5 years?
Perfect. So, with TVL, myself and my wife, that is my partner, right? We invested in some business. So, I mean, we're of course looking for things that can be around the ecosystem that Globalfy has. So, we invest in a company that does immigration, for example. We invest in a company that does some legal services because they are all around. I mean, we can create benefits for the operation. But we also look for companies that they have the ability to scale globally, but not just the product itself, more towards entrepreneur, right? So the products that the entrepreneur they have the mindset to do business in a global environment. Again, with AI and with the decrease in cost of developing software or developing solutions, I believe that entrepreneurs from Brazil or even from Portugal, where I'm based at, they have an important benefit and advantage that's the low cost of operation, like we said before.
Mhm,
And the youngest generation from Brazil, they already speak English. Different like from anyone
mhm,
like from 30 something to 40 in Brazil. Usually we can hire really good people that are on their 20s. They have good English. They're the Netflix generation, the PlayStation
yeah.
generation, right? So I think this put Brazil in a great position to compete globally for software, right, or for services. So on TVL, it's actually a way that we found to be more closer to the ecosystem, to be closer to the ecosystem, to also help young entrepreneurs that they have the global aspiration, and that's something that we can help them not just with money, but also with the expertise and with the and cutting some. And cutting some longer roads to be able to get to their goal faster.
Now I have one question that we'll have for every single uh, member and guest that we'll have in this podcast. So, Diego, what's the best piece of advice you received that you completely ignored, and what happened?
So that's a good question, Gustavo. The best piece of advice that I received and I ignored, it's I didn't ignore, but I didn't know how to take advantage of it. That is actually hiring good people and more senior people on the early days. So on Globalfy's trajectory, I'm sure that we took too long to hire people that knew way more than we did, and I truly believe that this impacted in our growth. I mean, we've been growing year after year, but on my key advice would be like that I would like to have did before was to start bringing people with more knowledge, more experience that had already gone through some of the challenge that we would be facing to the team before, so they could actually help us to not just map those challenges that we weren't seeing, but to overcome them.
Mhm. Great. Yes, and I think what what do you think? I think it's also something. Do you think that there is do you think that this difficulty is more related to how to hire or where to find these people, or do you think that it's more related to the founder internal thinking of if I bring someone that knows more than I do, or do you think that's there's some type of I forgot the word, some type of they are scared.
Mhm.
Let's use the word this
Yeah.
word. They are scared. The founder maybe in the early days they are more scared to hire senior people that may know more in a bunch of stuff than him, and then he says, oh, I won't know how to deal with this
Um,
senior person here.
Sure. Look, I think that this answer could be different if I was 20, maybe different when I was 30, but now I'm 40. So, I mean, I think that things change, right? And even we have more beliefs, better beliefs on us as we get older. But in our case, I think that I didn't know what I had to hire and who I had to hire and what was the profile that I had to hire. So I believe that I could hire with like someone with this background and these skills, but it's just because there was everything that I could that I knew at the time. So if I knew what I knew today, I would have hired someone with a different set of skills, for example. So then I think that having like a board of advisors, that's something that we were speaking before, and I know that you guys do some service around that, is helpful because you
Yeah.
don't have to have that person full time sometimes, but you have to be able to. It's amazing to be able to get someone to already did that path, and you could ask, look, I have this challenge. Who would you hire, or what do you do in this situation? Because they already done that, probably multiple times,
Mhm.
or they suffered, and so on. So I think that, of course, looking backwards is always easier than look
Yeah.
to the future,
Mhm.
and then being able to buy someone else past uh, will definitely help you to get to the point that you want sooner.
Yeah. Great, great. I understand, and I totally agree with you. And yes, having advisors can be someone that can say, "Hey, I have this and this path. Where should I go?" Or at least, how can you advise me
Sure.
to
Or,
what are the risks of going to each one that I can
or even,
choose
I
the
need
risk.
to get to this place. I have no clue how to get there.
Yeah,
Right? Sometimes as
yeah,
entrepreneurs, we don't have a clue of what we have to do to get to where we want to
Mm.
get. Right. So
Yeah.
having
Exactly, exactly.
your own Google Maps, it's helpful.
Yeah, a lot, a lot. And Diego, as a last question, I think it would be more like the message that you can send. So, what would you say to a founder who is reading contracts in English at 2 a.m., trying to register their US company alone, which is exactly who you were in 2012?
Sure. The first thing, you're gonna lose money. I mean, you may up saving $200 or $300 right now, but in the first year you're gonna definitely lose more than that. Um, what so the key point is that if you don't have, let's say, $500 or so to start the operation, maybe it's not time yet to do that. So focus on getting your first clients to Upwork or to any online platform, Fiverr or whatever, any platform that you can start selling abroad without having your own entity until you get $500 or $1,000 that you can invest in hiring someone that can provide you a great service. Because it's just not the registering the company; it's to maintaining it active. So the most expensive thing's not the registration process. It's actually losing a deadline and then have to pay thousands of dollars in fines. So, I mean, if you're early days and you don't have that $500 or $1,000 to invest, which is fine, find a way that you can sell your services through some sort of marketplace, get that money, and then hire someone that can assist you on that.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Diego, and thank you everyone to hearing and seeing this podcast. This was the first Commerce Talks. Make sure you subscribe to our Spotify channel, our YouTube channel, and thank you, Diego. Please,
Thank you very much,
want to say
Gustavo.
anyone?
It's really nice to be part of Evolve and always being connected with everybody in the network. Thanks so much and see you next time.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.